Hi, Millie. Welcome.
Hi, Diego.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm very well. Welcome to Third Space Studios. Here in
Thank you
Allapattah.
so much for having us over and seeing your space.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Coming up.
All right, let's go.
So we moved in about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
This is a space that four artists kind of created from the ground up. We were looking for a space for quite a while since we graduated. And our intention was to stay together and continue producing work. So we spent a lot of time looking for spaces here in the city, and we end up finding this space that we call home, a place that we can congregate, work, share, and hopefully in the future we can also rent it out for other artists and have some type of affordable studio space here in the city that is very hard to come by.
Very
So-
hard to come by. What a brilliant idea.
Thank you. Come on up.
This is incredible.
So this is it, third studio space.
How long have you been here?
About a month and a half.
Just a month and a half. So you
Yes.
just you
We
just
broke
moved
ground.
in.
Yes, we just,
So I get first look.
yes. you
I get first look.
Everybody gets
Amazing.
first look.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
We're still trying to figure out when are we going to do an opening and invite friends and family to come over to see how everything is evolving.
Yeah.
You see that we don't have partition walls yet, but that's something that we want to do. We have the incredible and famous John Colon here working on the side.
Hi, John. How are you?
In his studio.
So you guys went to school together.
Yes, we went to school together. We started during the pandemic, if you can believe it. 2020, we started online classes at FIU grad school.
No, that was a tough time.
Oh, that's your face. Okay.
Right. Right. Thank
Those
God
were
for
the
school.
pandemic was a really tough time.
Yeah, extremely tough. We did sculpture online, if you can believe it.
You
And
did.
we did-
Yes. Yeah, that was horrible.
It was great.
How did you manage?
Well, we need to get all the supplies delivered to the house or pick them up at Home Depot or whatever the hardware store we were going to use. And then we need to build things over there with our tools. We got kind of how-to from our professor, Tom Cicluna, he's a UM graduate, and used to take classes at UM as well. And we make it work. It was kind of crazy initially, but then we learned a lot. At least I learned a lot,
Yeah.
and it was kind of rewarding at the end. So,
And you decided come together.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We needed to stick together.
Yeah. It's better to do it with friends. It's better to build a community in one way or another.
It's always best to have that,
Yeah.
you know, because you do, when you work by yourself, you do lose the sense of, hey, can you take a look at this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's also about supporting
And also
each other.
supporting
Yeah,
and-
I think that's the key part of being an artist, to have a community of people that you believe and trust,
Yeah.
and that you can work things out and help each other in a way that is supportive. I think it goes a really long way. So,
It's extremely important. So this space,
yes.
it is big. Show me around.
All right. So here at the front, we left the space completely open because we wanted to have enough space to work outside our studios. Melina, who is currently doing a residency in New York, does a lot of sculpture, so it was very important for her to have a space that she can use in order to build things and not necessarily inside the studio. We also are thinking about repurposing the same space for maybe giving workshops in the future. But also, one of the ideas that we have is another way of congregating. We wanted to have meals here with other artists. We wanted to invite people over. Third space, the name that Melina coined comes from this idea of another place that is not a church or a home or a school. It's a third place like a coffee shop.
Or work.
Or work, exactly. Or
Yeah.
a barber shop. Places where people congregate to have a social life and enjoy it and exchange with one another without any type of issues that are attached to work or to school or responsibilities. That's the right word.
Now, if, let's say an artist wanted to join you, how would they do that?
Well, that's something that we're looking into. We definitely would like to have more people. Right now, we are kind of full in the sense that we have the floor space. The first studio is already allocated, but we are thinking about opening it up to other artists that are looking for spaces where they can come here to work. We will definitely will have to kind of know them or understand what they're trying to do, but we are really open to give the space away for other people that want to use it. So I think it's very exciting for us because I think there are not places such as this here in Miami where you can just maybe rent an affordable studio or not have a huge waiting list in order to get in some places that are subsidized.
Right.
So we are trying to create something that is not only great for us, but also for the community.
That is wonderful, incredible. And you've been really, really busy
Yes.
because you're working
Yes.
on a book.
Yes.
And not only that, but
Yeah.
an exhibition
Yeah.
with the book, and it's very, very important
Thank
subject
you.
matter.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I started this project when I was still in undergrad at UM. I was taking classes with Tom Lopez,
Yeah.
emeritus professor now. And I started working on this project that came from other years of documentation I was already doing about the displacement and disappearance of mobile home trailer parks here in South Florida. So I started going to these places, I started talking to the people that live in these places, trying to understand what was the reality, because what's going on here in South Florida is that real estate developers are buying the land, evicting everybody, and constructing different uses, either for residential, commercial, and whatnot. And this is something that keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. So initially I was trying to understand what was going on. I didn't have an idea of a book, that came a little bit later. I understood that the documentation of the urban landscape was so important, especially here in South Florida, because it was changing so rapidly that if we didn't have some type of recollection of archive of who was living there, then nobody will ever remember the people that lived there and the communities that were there. So I kind of took it upon myself. Every time I heard about these communities, each one of the communities getting displaced, I went there with a camera to talk to them, to understand what was going on. This started back in 2016, even before I started working on the project, where a community very close to where I live in Aventura was being sold, and it was going to be, everybody was going to get evicted.
Yeah.
So, not really understanding what I was doing, very shyly I took a video camera, a very cheap video camera, and I went there to record it. And I thought, this is historic, this is going away, this is important. Sometime later, I realized that I need to continue the process, going to other places and talking to other people, because there was a lot of, and there still is, a lot of stigma associated with these trailer parks. So, after many years, I understood that I was doing an elegy, that I was kind of honoring all these places that were going away, and what better way to do this by putting it in a book for other people to also experience this journey that I experienced.
Yeah.
I met veterans, I met seniors that have relocated from other places, I met families that live in these trailer parks that now had to move hundreds of miles away because the affordable housing crisis here gets worse and worse. So it was an entire process, and I always say that it was very interesting that at the beginning I wasn't completely sure what I was doing, and I think that's very common for most artists.
We never know, nobody knows what they're doing. You have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But the important part is that you keep at it, and
Yes.
eventually you understand what you're doing and what's the direction that you ultimately want to take, and then go through that door and do it.
It's tremendously important, not only difficult for artists to find studios, it's hard for people to find homes
Yeah.
to live, that they
Yeah.
can't afford, and
Many years ago, I was still an undergrad. I was taking Grace Barnes' documentary class, which is fantastic. And I did this short documentary about a jockey that ran horses at the Gulfstream Park, which is just across the street from where I live. And he has this phrase that stuck with me. He said that he built his own luck. And I took it by heart. It's like, you need to go out there and do things.
Yeah.
In this case, I need to go out and talk to these people and photograph these people and try to understand my way on what I wanted to say. That took me in a path of not only personal discovery, where I actually connected the dots between my own personal story to these communities, but also taking the work to many portfolio reviews across the country to get feedback from writers, curators, and other artists. Because every one of these little pieces are teaching you something that is very valuable in order to put it together. So yeah, it's the curiosity and the exploration of the journey, right? In order to finally put it out. The book is going to be called Sunset Colonies, a visual elegy to South Florida home communities. And it's coming up now in September 2024. And it's being published by the University Press of Florida, which is
Congratulations.
the best gift. I had opportunity of printing it also in another place in Europe, but when I knew that somebody in Florida wanted to publish it, then I knew that it was the right place to do it. So.
We're extremely excited because we're hosting
Yes.
your exhibition.
Yes.
It's our summer show at the University of Miami Gallery, and
Yep.
it'll be up very soon,
Yeah,
next month, all the way through August 30th.
yeah.
So,
And I'm super excited because this exhibition allows me to put together a lot of the material from the book that nobody has ever seen. So it's kind of like a great opportunity for me. I think it's fantastic to actually put it together in one venue, all the things together, all the research for the last 7 years in one place in order to make sense of how everything's going to work out. So I'm very excited.
well, we're excited to have you. All the details will be in the description bar and the name of the show,
Okay.
for I shall already have forgotten you,
Uh-huh.
which very, very timely title, important title,
Yeah.
because our gallery's in Wynwood, and it almost seems unrecognizable now.
Absolutely.
So we're extremely overdeveloped, and affordable housing is very, very difficult to find.
Yeah, and
So-
it's also, we were talking about that yesterday with the frame. Eric's actually putting some of the frames together for the show. How, as you said, how unrecognizable the city is. If you look 20 years ago or 40 years ago.
No, completely
the idea
different.
that it was a blue-collar neighborhood, and many other places around the city that are, we don't know who they are for anymore. You know, there was this, I think it was Deleuze, the French philosopher, that talked about rights to the city.
Yeah.
Who has the rights to the city? Who is the city for?
Yeah.
Besides paying taxes, you know, and having a voice every time we vote, I feel as a taxpayer that we are not necessarily represented fully in what goes on behind doors on the city decisions. I know that property revenue is very important for many municipalities,
Right.
but the interesting thing about the research is that initially these municipalities benefited from these small home trailer parks because they didn't have to invest in anything, and they have already a workforce, already a lot of people living here, consuming and doing different things. But now when property taxes have skyrocketed over the years, it becomes a little bit more difficult for them to godfather all these communities. So they don't want them.
No.
So it becomes very tricky, a very tricky situation.
No.
And in the middle of it, the life of everybody. Why don't we go to my studio,
That's
my
here.
virtual studio over here?
I want to know your tools.
Yeah.
We want to see it all.
Okay, so this is my space. I'm going to speak a little bit louder because of the AC. I apologize, John, ahead of time. You will have to hear me out. So this is my space here. My collection of books. Everyone is very important for me. Artists that I adore, references, things that are important, from landscape photographers to documentary photographers to a combination of many things. I'm gonna give a shout out. Where is the book? I bought it when I was in Argentina. I'm originally from Argentina, if you couldn't tell about my accent.
Yeah.
There is a book by Sara Facio, who just died, called Buenos Aires, Buenos Aires. I have it here. Here it is. Fantastic book with some writing from Julio Cortázar, the incredible Argentinian writer, and also from Alicia D'Amico. And when I came across this book, it was super, super special for me because as we were talking about how the city was changing, well, even though these pictures were taken late 60s, early 70s, they kind of connect with the idea and the places that I came to know when I was growing up in Buenos Aires.
This is incredible.
Yeah, the book is just fantastic. The photography is incredible. And it's insane, even the buses. Those are the buses that I used to ride back in the 80s.
Whoa.
And this is, as I said, late 60s, but it shows you a place that doesn't exist anymore. A bar and a guy reading, so custom, the chairs, the light, everything. That is very, very close to my heart. All black and white photography, documentary photography.
What made you fall in love with photography? You knew that that's what you wanted to do. Was that was always the medium for you?
Well, no, that's so weird because I started with photography, I abandoned photography, and I guess photography was always there for me. I got my first camera when I was 6, one of those pocket cameras. My cousins were kind of crazy, older cousins. They gave me this point and shoot rectangular camera. And I was taking pictures of everything, not really understanding anything, but having a lot of fun. And then I forgot about it. And then I was in high school, I signed up for the photography workshop, and I loved it. And I started documenting a bunch of things. I won several awards back in Argentina. And then all of a sudden, I was always very attached to computers and technology, and I discovered computer animation and animation in general. And that's how I kind of put photography aside and I focused on animation, and that's when I came to the United States to get a degree in animation. I have a degree in animation and multimedia from the Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Whoa.
That was
yeah.
1998. Not really understanding anything other than I wanted to be an animator. So I came to the States to pursue that. And I always got cameras and did things, but not very seriously. Until I did my undergrad at UM. And I decided.
It's because you're an alum, so.
Yes, I'm an alum. And I also have to maybe give the kudos to, again, to Tom Lopez. I took his history of photography, which was fantastic, of course. And I was looking at all these people that I didn't know. Some of them I did, but most of them I didn't. And it's like, I can do that. And I felt that on some instances, I can say things at the same level. So I kind of, from that point on, devoted myself to photography. And I completed a graduate degree, an MFA at FIU, just this year alone. I have the book coming out next September.
It's nonstop.
Non-stop. I came back from Photo Alicante last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us about that experience.
It was great. I went to the Miguel Hernandez University and I gave a talk to the students. Most of them are communication students, but it was great to actually, have these discussions about photography and the role of the photographer, the extent of what we can do, what we cannot do, how you deal with people that are maybe worrisome about you taking a picture of them, and at the same time, as a photographer and as an artist, how to achieve what you're trying to achieve, right? Because at the end of the day, you need to produce something. What we were saying that sometimes we don't know what we're doing. That's perfectly right. But it's about going through the door. It's about going through the experience and trying it out and taking a picture of somebody, trying to collaborate with somebody about taking a picture. So that was fantastic, and it was again a fantastic opportunity to see the work on this incredible place that they have. They have a cultural center, Las Cigarreras, where they have a bunch of different exhibits from Photo Alicante as well, and it was great. And the other thing that is also great that happened is that at the beginning of the year, I was selected for this show, The Pathways. Carlos Malamud, shout out to Carlos, who is fantastic. He lives here in Brickell in Miami. This is the second time he's funding this opportunity, this show with $10,000. So they select several artists, I think it's 6 artists from the state of Florida. The last time they did this 2 years ago, they selected about 50-some artists, emerging artists, that's the whole point of the show, submitted work. For this show, only 6 got selected. This time around, 100 artists, 100 emerging artists submitted work, and only 6 or 7 were selected.
6 or 7 out of
Yeah,
100.
so I was extremely fortunate and lucky to be selected. Here's some of the work that you're going to see at the Wynwood Gallery next July. And it was a great experience.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and the show is still up. It's at the Rawlings University Gallery Museum and at the UCF Gallery as well, down there in Orlando. And it's great. And the idea of the show, not only to award this prize, who my friend now, Tini Hart, won it. Congratulations, Tini.
Congrats.
She did an amazing installation. She deserved it. It's also all the follow-up assistance that they provide you with. So the idea is to do this for emerging artists, and the jurors, as well as the faculty and curators of the universities and of the shows, of the galleries, are going to help all the artists that were selected, all the finalists, to continue their development. So it's kind of a professional development opportunity.
And they give you funds.
They gave us a small stipend in order to put the show together, but they don't give us funds in order to continue. They're just going to open up their agenda and their contacts for us to continue with our development and try to get our work in other items.
That is huge. I'm a big believer, and we give artists money.
Yeah, we all are.
We need to give artists money. It's
Yes.
in grants
Yes.
and stipends are incredibly important.
Yes,
and
I agree.
I think it's fabulous that receive this. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Take me through a day of your in the studio. For
Well,
you, like
you know, we photographers in the world, we do, at least myself, I do work here and I do work outside.
right.
Because,
You need to be on the field.
Exactly. I guess the studio for me works more as a way of trying to understand what I'm doing, either through references, either by pulling Walker Evans' American Photographs, who it's the quintessential,
Stunning book.
incredible book.
Yes.
Um,
Now we're talking. Look at that.
Yeah, this is before and after, right?
Yes.
We can say photography started with Walker Evans in a way or another, at least the photo book, at least for me. So, yeah, it's trying to understand, look at that. It's trying to understand what I'm doing because, I mean, I like to maybe jump into different concepts and different ideas. For me, sociology and anthropology and history are very important vectors where I base most of my work. Disclaimer, my mother is a history professor, so the influence comes from there. But for me to understand what I'm trying to say, I always think that instead of having an intellectual conversation with somebody, I can just show them, right? I can put the images next to them, like what I'm doing with the book. And I want the viewer to do the extra legwork and put it together. And hopefully we can have a conversation later. But I see it more like that. So when I come to the studio, it's either to work on the computer, look at references. Sometimes if I'm doing screen printing, I have some screens that I build myself to work on those, curate and burn the screens that I'm doing, or just looking at the archives, the flat files, and the stuff that I'm doing.
Is this one of yours?
Yes, this is actually one. This is Helen. This is one that's going to be at the show. I was actually comparing. I printed another.
It's stunning
copy.
portrait.
Thank you. Actually, that we're talking to Bill. We're talking about Walker Evans, Bill McGuire, the incredible Bill McGuire from FIU. mentioned it to me when he saw it the first time that it reminded him of burrows. He saw their photo that Walker took in the south when he was doing the work from the FSA. And I think there is something there. I'm not completely sure what it is, but
Well, the intensity in the eyes
yeah,
is one.
yeah. Helen lived in this Pembroke Pine trailer community, and she had been there for a really long time, and she needed to move. And I bumped into her when I was there, and we talked for, I don't know, half an hour. And she was showing me the different places and telling me the story of that particular trailer park that is next to a church and next to an evangelical TV station. And gave me the whole mythology of what was going on. And I was following her and taking some photos, and we were talking. That's the photo that eventually came out of our encounter, and that is also in the book.
Mm-hmm. I was looking at this.
Yes. So this is kind of a newer work. This came after the fact, after all the photographs came, after many trials of trial and error. I repurpose, or what I like to say is that I borrow these darts from construction sites.
Do you really?
Yes. At the show, I'm going to have many more. But this came as a way of answering the question of what's going on with the capital, right? Once these communities are gone, then who is using this space? These stars, in a way, are obscuring our eyesight, our sight, to what was there before. They make it invisible. They make it more invisible than what already is. And then they are covering the construction that happens there. Sometimes they just keep the void because nothing happens there, just an empty lot. But what repeats itself over and over again is this communication that is repurposed by these real estate companies that are trying to sell these developments about these images of eternal youth and happiness, the happy-go-lucky kind of message of
the ones you see, right?
Exactly.
In the ads.
Exactly.
They're shopping.
Exactly. I got inspiration from our Russell catalog as well, where they're selling these $1 million mansions. I have all the catalogs there. But it's the abstraction of this image that in a way plays with the idea of perspective, which has been kind of important in a lot of installations that I've done. That from afar, like when we are driving and our daily commutes, don't pay any attention to these lots being destroyed, these people being evicted. Only when we're getting close that we can see it. So the abstraction of the image from far looks like a billboard on the highway, right? Mm-hmm. The dots, if you're very far away, you can see the image a little bit clearer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when you're getting close, it becomes much more abstract and it becomes something else.
It's hardly there.
Right. So the lives are disappearing in front of your eyes, even though we are talking about what happens after that. And that came out of the comment from Jim Moreno, the curator and part of ICA, who was looking at the work and he was trying to push me and saying like, well, but what about the capital? You are not talking about the capital in your work. For the most part, the work is, as I said before, it's an elegy of these places that are going away. And I never really wanted to make it kind of black and white, the good ones against the bad ones. But I thought that there was something to be said about where the money is flowing. It's not flowing to create affordable housing. It's flowing to create multi-million-dollar mansions or to fuel even further growth of the real estate development, which has been always a constant in South Florida, right? If we look, I was fortunate enough to go to the Wilsonian archives and see, I went with Grace when I was taking the documentary class, and they show us footage of Coral Gables back in the 20s, where it was like empty. There was not so much there. There were some roads and there were some buildings, but you come to the conclusion and the idea that this is a very brand new city and construction has been a constant. Actually, it's called the Magic City because of construction. People that came back during the trainings could not believe how fast the city had expanded over
Still.
a period of 1 year or two.
Right.
But that stick, that kept the imagination, kept part of the imagination of the cultural heritage of South Florida, and stuck to the point that everybody remembers Miami as the magic city because it keeps growing, right? Even though we don't remember it.
Well, it's easy to develop, and then it's make it harder for people to apply for affordable housing.
Yeah. Well, there isn't any anymore.
Right. Yeah.
That's the catch. There isn't any anymore. So, a common day of me coming here is trying to organize myself with the things that I need to do, either going out, grabbing the camera, figuring out what I'm going to do, setting up the right equipment. Hopefully I will get a printer soon so I can start printing my work here as well. And when we have the walls, you're going to see a whole array and collage of different ideas that I put together and mishmash, because it's very important for me to understand what I'm doing and how things work. At this point, I feel that every project is a book in a way or another, or a sequence of some sorts. I don't believe in the perfect image. I think it's a collection, as a poem has many words that connect and make it what it is. I think photography is exactly the same thing. It's a different language, and I'm working towards creating different things around that.
Do you have something in mind for a next project?
Oh yeah. I have too many projects. That's the thing.
Do you usually work one at a time, or you could work on a couple?
Well, I had to give this advice to Jeff Larson, also professor at UM.
We know Jeff. We love Jeff.
Who doesn't?
Shout out to you, Jeffrey.
Shout out to Jeff. You always work on multiple projects at the same time.
Yeah.
You don't just work on one, because I feel that, at least that's the way I work. Some things are related to one another, not everything, but you find that there is some type of communication between different things, and then you can devote your time to one because you see a way forward, and then you can put one in suspense. As an example, I have a project that I started in Argentina, and I'm trying to get funding in order to continue, so that's kind of in a research mode. I started shooting a little bit. It's not fully developed, it's going to take many years, but it's there, it's on the back burner. And I still do research, and I still look at different things, and then I move on to other things. The one that I'm working right now, that I started at the beginning of this year, is about looking at Miami as a liminal space, a huge liminal space, and how many parts of the city, and the city itself, it's kind of conceived as a space that you're in between things, from immigration, from traffic, to washing your clothes. I spent the last 3 months going to laundromats, doing my own washing there and photographing.
Really?
Right, because I thought it was fascinating, the fact that even though I have a washer and dryer at home.
So you have one at home.
Yeah.
You purposely went out.
Yeah, because
You couldn't get me to get out of the house.
well, but it's there was a point where I didn't have one, and I used to go to these laundromats at night on a Sunday at 10 o'clock to do my laundry, and I always wonder about the people, the environment, the place itself.
I heard that it's the best reading you could do is
Yeah,
there.
that's true. That's true. It's very peaceful. You have some TVs, but for the most part, nobody bothers you.
Yeah.
But I remember when I used to do the laundry there, nobody had any cell phones. Or at least they were not so smartphones. I mean, people had phones, but not smart. So it was a different type of relationship. Some people will come, leave their stuff, and go out. So other people will stay there forever. So I'm seeing it as a sociological experiment in a way, trying to see these places where we are stuck in one way or another, and putting myself there, getting stuck as well, to kind of understand. And then the amount of things are happening here in the city, like traffic. How many hours do we spend going from one place to the other? Everybody will tell you, we are actually stuck in the car. We feel that we're going from one place to the other, or we're actually stuck in that small square footage.
We're in the car more than home. Then.
Right. And Then we have another part of the project is talking about dreamers that are stuck in between status, right? They are here but not here, or people that are people from Haiti or from Venezuela who are, again, doing their paperwork in order to get residency or a TPS status, if I'm not mistaken. They are in between. Their life is not here nor there, and they don't know if they're going to stay. So this city, in a way, it's holding us in this liminal space, and I wanted to explore it in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. Is there an advice that you would give young artists or students? Anything that you wish you were told before
Sure.
going into the field, you know?
Well, we all know it's tough. We all know that you're not going to make $1 million, right? But that's not why we do it. We don't do it because of the money. I think the interesting part is the challenge, to put it out there. But the best advice that I can give any aspiring artist is to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And stick to your guns. Because it's perfectly fine if people don't like your work. You need to listen to them. You need to understand why they don't like it, and then move forward from that. And I think that's the best advice that I can give anybody. To understand from criticism and your mistakes, and then bounce back. This is not personal, even though you have been working on that project for a really long time,
Yeah.
and it feels very personal. And I'm sure it is. Most of the projects are very personal. But there are an opportunity for you to express yourself, and then to learn. And then you need to move forward from that and use that piece of advice into getting into the next one. I think it was Duke Ellington said, the next one I do is the best one I do. You know, the next one is the good one. It's not this one, it's the next one. Because all that experience, all that work eventually will pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. Diego, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for having us over, for showing us your space. We're very excited about your exhibition in Wynwood.
Thank you.
Exhibition in the University of Miami Gallery
yes.
next month. It's our summer show all the way up to August 30th. Details in the description. And please don't miss it. Stop by. And I'll leave some information, Diego's contact information in case you have questions or want to learn more about the studio space. Feel free to contact us. Thank
Thank you so
you
much, Missy.
so much. Bye.
Bye.